In 1793, after an extended period of political hostility between Great Britain and the newly revolutionized French Republic, the rumblings of war finally erupted into conflict as France declared war on her longtime foe. This came as no surprise to the British, of course, and so many a shrewd entrepreneur had already begun buying up fast ships and converting them into vessels of combat. These ships would not, however, be drafted into the Royal Navy, but instead remained in private ownership and crewed by volunteer sailors keen to avoid the Navy press gangs and earn a pretty penny in doing so. These ships and their crews, once awarded a government license known as a letter of marque, would become privateers in the service of Great Britain. Essentially, these sailors would become a cross between a mercenary and a pirate. Their fast and usually heavily armed vessels would chase after enemy merchant ships, demanding the Frenchmen surrender before the crews would board the enemy craft, seizing cargo, men, and even the ships themselves, going on to hand them over to the Crown and to await the prize. The haul would be converted into war funds by the government, whilst a sizable portion of the profits would be distributed amongst the privateer crew, with the owner of the ship taking the lion's share. Early in the war, the British privateers took a significant toll on the French, as unguarded, lightly armed and poorly motivated crews were quickly overwhelmed, and in the city of Liverpool, a man by the name of Nicholas Ashton was keen to carve out a piece of this lucrative trade for himself. Whilst already a successful entrepreneur, Ashton nonetheless purchased a brig before the outbreak of war and quickly converted the ship into a man of war complete with 22 cannons, mortars, and deck guns. She was now the privateer vessel Pelican. On the afternoon of Wednesday the 20th of March 1793, with her conversion completed and her new crew of 70 signed up, Ashton and the Pelican's new captain, Samuel Higgins, took the ship along with numerous guests, dignitaries and family members for a pleasure cruise up and down the River Mersey. She was accompanied by a fellow privateer ship, and both vessels found the going good on the river. Initially, the water was calm and the weather was ideal. However, as the Pelican and her human cargo, including 134 souls, reached the far side of the river, nearing the town of Seacombe, the weather took a distinct turn for the worse. Captain Higgins decided that it would be safer to turn back and make to the Liverpool pier head, ordering non-essential personnel below decks to take shelter from the worsening weather. This, it would turn out, would be a terrible and deadly order. Once the Pelican began to come about, poorly secured cannons below deck instantly wrenched loose and swept across the deck, ploughing through sailors and passengers alike, before crashing into and even through the hull of the Pelican. Immediately, the Pelican listed heavily and irretrievably to starboard, the holes in the hull allowing river water to flow freely into the floundering vessel. The Pelican was truly doomed, as were 102 passengers and crew, many of whom were trapped below as ordered. Rescue for some came from a number of boats organised by a man named John Starkey. Starkey, along with a small flotilla, made their way from Liverpool, braving the storm and plucking 25 survivors from the water and from the mast, which was, by now, the only part of the Pelican still visible above the water. Though the Pelican would never challenge the French, nor anyone found legally liable for the disaster, the legacy of the ship, it is said, continues to this day, albeit in a paranormal manner. It is said that ghostly echoes can be heard across the waters of the River Mersey, whenever the weather begins to turn and a storm rolls in. From the shores of Liverpool and the town of Pelican, the wails of the victims of the disaster cry out for rescue that will never come, and the bell rings out, chiming in the bluster of a storm that ended over 2 centuries ago. It was once said that during a particularly heavy storm in 1987, shadowy, bedraggled figures could be seen wading ashore at a place called Guinea Gap, close to Seacombe, before vanishing as they cleared the churning water. The history of the River Mersey is often as enigmatic as it is fascinating, with tales of phantom German bombers crashing into the muddy waters, sea monsters and stranger lights, haunted ferries and UFOs regularly being reported. And so, undoubtedly, we will return to Liverpool for another trip along the mysterious River Mersey. Thank you so much for listening and watching this video. I really do appreciate it. I hope that there will be many more videos to come in the very near future, all dealing with these strange and unusual stories from around the world. And I hope also to get out there and do a few from the field videos. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, or if you like to just be told unusual stories, please do give us a subscribe and perhaps give this video a like. And I will speak to you soon with some more bite-sized bits of the bizarre.